This week it was discussed that 64.7% of all involuntary terminations in an industry group were due to attendance and tardy problems. That is a huge number. A situation that we, as employees, can control. Well, hi all, I'm Marty, and I'd like to thank you for checking in with our podcast, Warehouse and Operations as a Career Again. You know, I feel there's quite a bit that we as associates, that we do wrong or don't do right. I myself know of at least 5 people that were dismissed over attendance issues. I felt so bad for one young woman. She was in a production environment and had missed like 5 days in 7 weeks. She honestly and wholeheartedly did not think that was a bad record. Her supervisor had spoken to her and documented occasions number 3 and 4, warning what would have to happen if she called in again over the next 30 days. She wasn't struggling with things like childcare issues or transportation problems. She just didn't feel like there should be such rules to keeping a job. And I'm not quite sure why she felt that way. Oh, and here is one that I didn't agree with because of how his management team handled it, but that's not really my call. So an individual was called in and let go because of him having 19 tardies in just 45 days. The supervisor didn't speak to the individual until tardy number 17, and then released him after number 18. My 2 cents were that management had allowed the first 15 of them before they felt it was a problem, and then wanted to enforce a rule that wasn't a problem until that week. The facts here was that either his immediate supervisor wasn't on top of their game, or maybe this guy was a friend of his or hers, and they thought they were helping a friend. I hope that wasn't the case, though, because they would have helped him out of a job. Attendance and tardies is just nothing to lose a job over. If we haven't abused our time off, then when we have that emergency come up, or when we really need to take a day off, it won't be as big an issue because that history won't be there to be considered. We kind of terminated ourselves, I guess. We knew the rules and expectations. We just went to work late or not at all too many times. You know, I had a young man come through one of my PIC classes, a powered industrial truck class. I always take them out to the warehouse and observe them on the equipment, even though they're not, working here with me. I want to ensure that they can properly operate the equipment before sending them to their facility, where myself or another instructor will perform the observation or on-site where they'll be working. So this guy cruised through the classroom portion, and we had a good time really sharing experiences. I knew he'd be fine with the equipment. I was very familiar with the facility that he'd been hired for, so as I was giving him the demonstration of operating the equipment and showing him, what I'd like for him to show me skills-wise, I explained that this facility was a pretty tight environment, that they would be looking at how focused and in control at all times that he could be. After I finished up with my demonstration, I asked him to do the same. I immediately could tell that he was an experienced operator and knew how to be safe and perform the task that was going to be required of him. But he was overconfident. Well, maybe not overconfident. He was good, so I should have said that he was just driving too fast. Very safely, but too fast for the environment that he was going to be working in. I spoke to him about it, and he said that he understood. He stated that in this environment he just felt that he could operate a little quicker, so he did. I reminded him of the facility's expectations and sent him on his way, wishing him the best of luck in his new career. Well, on his first week, he had been cautioned to slow down when performing lifts. And once he was caught moving his lift before the forks had been lowered all the way to the ground. Now, on his second week there, his supervisor called him into the office and again cautioned him on his disregard for the rules. The new associate expressed that he was operating the lift safely and could just outperform or safely outperform the other associates. He really felt like that they shouldn't be concerned about him having an accident. The supervisor not only expressed his concern regarding those statements, but he warned him that the next time he was observed not following the rules, he would be dismissed. I'm sad to say that he was dismissed the very following week. I think it's important to note here that our employer's concern was not with his productivity. They just wanted him to do as they had instructed, for him to slow down. From what I heard, his abilities or skills to safely perform the task was never a concern of theirs. They wanted their rules followed. They were paying for their rules to be followed. Again, I think it's safe to say that he terminated himself. We have to follow the directions given to us. Here's one I heard about just this morning. An employer had noticed a job seeker on one of the job boards. I believe it was a young gentleman, and although he did not list a lot of experiences relating to the position, that the hiring agent went ahead and gave him a call. The phone interview went really well, and a face-to-face interview was set up with the department manager. That meeting went very well also. One of the questions was, how soon could you start should you be selected? The answer given was immediately. With that being said, the manager told him that he had one more person that they wanted to interview, but that he was on the short list. He assured him that he would be hearing something either way by tomorrow afternoon. Now, all this happened on a Thursday. The next morning, the manager, having made his decision, went to HR and requested that they send the guy an offer letter, call him, and set up a Monday morning orientation for his new team member. Well, the new prospect said that he could not accept the position until he ran it by his mentor. Evidently, the mentor would not be available until late that afternoon. HR shared that news with the manager, and his response was to rescind the offer and offer the position to his second choice. He wanted someone to start Monday, and Monday morning. Now, I don't necessarily agree with the manager's expectation of an immediate yes or no answer. However, the candidate, could had mentioned that he was working with a coach or a mentor and would like to discuss any offer with them before accepting any forthcoming offers. I think a little better planning and being better prepared could have helped us out here. One more real quick. Towards the end of last week, I heard about a longtime supervisor losing her job. She was performing well. The company had been doing a little bit of, We'll say organizational rearranging over the last few months. A new president had come aboard from the corporate office, and to be honest, it appeared was bringing quite a few members of his previous team over with him. Now that happens, it's normal, but it does not have to affect us. I'll expand on that a little bit. From what I hear, she was good at her job. Her opportunity was that she was a bit adverse to change. Most things that had been brought up to try was met with a but by her and her department. She always had a but kind of answer. As you know, I'm pretty outspoken. In these situations, I agree it's better to be a team player and go along with these kind of resets to our business. Now, if asked, certainly share our thoughts. However, it may be better to row with the flow for a few months. Up our team mentality. We should be that positive teammate to the new management team. That's really what they're looking for. It may very well be our best move. Now, sadly to say, this advice sometimes just isn't going to help us keep our position. When new management comes in, they may have an agenda, or they may just like their previous team members. They're comfortable with them. It's going to be our best shot, but we have to see how things work out. Be respectful, professional, and see how things turn out for us. The alternative is to, help them to decide to replace us. I had jotted down a few don'ts earlier. Let's look at a couple of them. I think one of my most important ones is don't get too comfortable at work. I see some people's desk with pictures everywhere and knickknacks, posters, plants. I've even seen fish bowls on people's desk. It's not our home. Your work area should not be all cozy and comfortable. In the office, at least. If we're working from home, that could be a different story. But in the office, you should have an ergonomically positioned work area, in my opinion. I don't feel that we should ever need more than a shoebox to pack up our stuff with, should we be leaving. And don't ever bow up to the boss. As long as the ask is legal and ethical, just do it. We can always mention it or go over their heads, after we followed the directions given to us. And don't think our way is the best way. If we are equipment operators, no matter how we've done things in the past or at other facilities, do it the way that we're directed. The new processes and procedures are what we're being paid to do. Oh, and don't be the attendance and tardy problem. We've talked about how much it can cost in time and resources when we forget to punch in or out. If we can't be responsible enough to perform the first step in our pay cycle, I can see how some employers will worry about us performing our hard-to-do task, right? And then, of course, the most serious don't. Don't break or disregard any safety rule, process, or procedure. Even if we don't understand it, it is there for a reason, I assure you. Well, I know I'm going to hear from the grammar police about using all these don'ts, but I'm just not a do-not guy. And I hope we mention something that helps you out next week. Oh, I heard from a listener that usually waits until we post the episode on our Facebook page to listen each week. Yes, sometimes we're behind posting there by a few days. Please subscribe using Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or whatever app that you get your podcast from. You can even subscribe right on our website. That way you'll receive the show each week first thing Thursday mornings. Until next week, follow the rules, do as instructed. I think we'll find a lot less stress within our work life if we can be that employee. And as always, think about our families and our friends throughout the day. It'll remind us to be safe in all we do.